Well, my nominee for most underrated career in Hollywood's got to be Dennis Quaid. He's been in everything. What a story. From Reagan to The Substance to you name it. And what a story he has. He's in studio with us today. Very excited about that. We'll begin, though, with the poop storm that is Snow White. Oh, my God. The debris is settling, and it's a nightmare. It's Hot Mics with Billy Bush, presented by our friends at LA Golf. We are live on TuneIn and YouTube. How you doing? What a day. I mean, the debris is settling on Snow White. Snow woke, basically. It irritated everyone by hitting every cultural landmine on the way to its anemic $43 million domestic opening. I mean, this thing took so many ingredients of the day and delivered the worst-case scenario. It's a tale of free speech versus dumb speech, age-old studio coddling of petulant stars, pandemic, fire, woke politics. If it could go wrong, it did. The biggest problem for Disney, however, was Snow White herself, and it began when filming began in 2022. Rachel Zegler complained on social media that she was not invited to the Oscars in 2022 when she was the star of West Side Story. West Side Story had 7 nominations at the Oscars, but she was not one of them for lead actress. A fan asked her what she was going to do. What are you going to wear to the Oscars? She said, "I'm not invited, so sweatpants and my boyfriend's flannel." She was also in production at that very time in London on Snow White. The Academy ended up flying her to the Oscars, where she also presented. Disney did not acquiesce. They did not fly her, but the Academy never likes any kind of drama. They freak out over that, so they invited her. She presented at the Oscars, the whole thing. It was nice. She made a little, reference to her only being invited 6 days ago when she was on the stage presenting with Jacob Elordi, but she made it. Shortly after, at the big fan fest that Disney puts on, D23, she criticized the original 1937 actual story of Snow White, the tale itself, bemoaning that the prince, quote, literally stalks her. Well, that didn't, I guess Disney, they didn't shut her down immediately on that one. Why didn't they? I mean, this is probably the most important piece of IP that Disney has, but they let it go. Then there was the self-inflicted wounds, mostly surrounding wokeism. The name Snow White is inspired by a snowstorm in this, not from having skin as white as snow. Subtle but noticeable censorship. They say the fairest of them all. They kept that in there, but feared it would celebrate the whitest woman, so they expanded the definition to mean kindest and most fair, as in F-A-I-R, not F-A-R-E. So she says, yes, I am Snow White, and no, I am not bleaching my skin for the role on social media. She condescendingly described her critics as losers obsessed with maintaining the bloodline purity of cartoon princesses. That didn't go well. And then the mighty Peter Dinklage spoke out.
Literally no offense to anything. They're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White. It makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
Yeah, so this sort of sent Disney into a tailspin, sucking up to the dwarf community. And they thought that they would just promise CGI. So they announced in early 2022 that the company would take a different approach to her 7 companions to avoid reinforcing stereotypes about dwarves. They released a photo of Rachel with the CGI dwarves. That pissed off the dwarf acting community. I mean, they don't get a ton of looks, right? The irony that they got minimized by one of their own is sort of amazing. No good virtue signaling goes unpunished, but groveling revisionist apologist ones do. So actress Ali Chapman, be here in a little while, she starred in many movies, including one that comes out April 18th, which is ironically called The Death of Snow White. And we'll take a little look at that when Ali Chapman comes a little later on. But You know, look, there was the curse of the actors' strike of 2023, which prevented Snow White from finishing on time and pushed the release of the film from March 2024 to March 2025. In that time, the war in Gaza began, and Gal Gadot stepped forward as Rachel's co-star, as a former member of the IDF. She railed in support of Israel. She spoke at the Anti-Defamation League convention. Understandable, Gal Gadot is Israeli, a soldier. Rachel Zegler is from New Jersey. In August 2024, at D23, the fan forum, Rachel posted on X a thank you to her fans, loving the Snow White trailer. Moments later, in a total non sequitur, after saying thank you for loving our movie, she decides to post a follow-up afterthought, an addendum to her post, which says, always remember Free Palestine. Well, that garnered 8.8 million views. It did not slip by. This caused panic within the studio. So the producer of Snow White, Disney producer Mark Platt, flew to New York City to meet with Rachel's team. She ultimately refused to take it down. What's interesting, Mark Platt flies to New York to talk to Rachel about this. Please stop posting these things. Just within the hour, something very interesting happened. The son of Disney producer Mark Platt, a guy named Jonah Platt, was on social. Someone commented on his page, hey, your dad, what kind of jerk is he to fly to New York and censor a 20-year-old girl? What kind of crap is that? He just fired back. This is like 30 minutes ago. He fires back, are you kidding me? What are you talking about? This guy, here, he says, you really want to do this? My dad, the producer of an enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand a 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie for which she signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid and do publicity. This is called adult responsibility and accountability. And her actions clearly hurt the film's box office. Free speech does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. Tens of thousands of people worked on the film. She hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of all the colleagues and crew and blue-collar workers who depend on that movie and its success. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged. So, interesting, by the way, Jonah Platt, the kid who's standing up for his father. The other brother, his brother, the other son of Mark Platt, is Ben Platt, the great singer, Dear Evan Hansen. So death threats came into Gal Gadot, which is wild over all this. Disney had to hire security for Gal Gadot. Now, post-Trump election, Rachel posts, may Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. Now imagine the inside of the Disney suite and all the executives who are running around going, what is she doing now? A film already weighed down by expensive reshoots just had their 23-year-old star alienate and piss off half the audience. They hired security for Gal, had to hire Rachel, a social media expert, let's call that really a chaperone, to vet her posts until the movie opened on March 21st. Literally, please keep your mouth shut until we can salvage what we can to make this movie a success. For comparison, Gal Gadot kept all of her posts limited to hostage sympathy, never connected them with the movie, but pro-Palestinian groups started calling for boycotts of the film because of Gadot. And then, of course, the anti-woke crowd, because of Rachel Zegler. They banned the press at this point, won't even let the press cover the red carpet. So a combination of bad reviews and all the negative press ultimately dumps flames on the fire. Never mind the COVID delay and in production and a fire on the set that happened. So at this year's Oscars, Zegler replies to a follower calling Gal Gadot, Rachel says, a professional pageant queen. I assume she meant she's so beautiful and statuesque, but obviously at this, anything coming out of her mouth just tanks it because, of course, Gal Gadot's an Israeli soldier. Now, back to the issue that we spoke about before. Ali Chapman is with me right now. A actor of the highest. Ali, I think we've met, have we not?
We have met. It's good to see you again.
Where did we meet? On Access Hollywood?
Yes, I was on there with my castmates. We were promoting our show, The Venice Beach Freak Show, which was on AMC, and you had us on as a guest.
Oh, my God. Ali, how many productions have you been in? How long have you been an actor?
I have been an actor since 2007. My very first role was I was a body double stand-in for Will Smith's daughter, Willow Smith, in the movie I Am Legend. So that's what got my start in the industry.
Unbelievable. All right, we're going to talk about what happened ultimately with Snow White, and that is that they decided instead of using actors from the dwarf community, they were going to use CGI. And, of course, that's 7 unbelievably meaty roles on a film with a $270 million budget. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick look at your next movie, which is called Death of Snow White with Ali Chapman. Let's take a quick look at that.
They do appear to be quite mad.
Ali, it looks very violent and bloody. Are you okay? Is everything good?
Yeah, this is the dark side of the, very popular Snow White tale. So it's a little, gory. Definitely not the, the very really sweet version of Snow White. This is the dark side of it, but it's amazing.
Okay, well, let's get to so. Peter Dinklage stepped up and he was like, "You're still playing the tropes of 7 dwarves, living in a cave. Well, it's really a fantastical, magical cottage, but whatever. There's lots of little creatures and animals, and there's 7 dwarves. This is the story." How did you feel? First of all, when Dinklage said that, and also universally, more importantly, Disney's decision to go CGI?
Well, I listened to Dinklage's viewpoint on that, and I guess, he's talking about stereotypes of how we're cast often in films. And I understand that, and I do know, a lot of times we are cast as like elves, leprechauns, mythical creatures, and stuff like that. But at the same time, this is, Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. It is. The dwarves are very, they're very much a huge part of the tale, and
central.
Yeah,
right.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you
central.
Probably have a great amount of respect for Peter Dinklage. I would assume he's on the Mount Rushmore in the dwarf community of actors, right?
Oh,
Let
yeah.
alone the community of actors. Period. Dinklage has done huge
Oh
things.
yeah, I mean, at this point in my eyes, I consider him to be an A-list actor, and it's great because he is a person with dwarfism, so it's great to have him in the industry, and hopefully that'll open up roles for many more people like myself, many talented actors and actresses that have dwarfism. So I do know where he was going with that, but at the same time, like we were saying earlier, that the dwarves are an essential part of the story, and I felt like had this production gone a different way, and at least just made the role available. I mean, made those roles available. We don't have to take anything that we don't want to. If that goes against what we're what we want to align ourselves with, that's fine. But it just should have been. I feel like it was so important, and I feel like it should have been real, actors instead of using CGI.
In your world, you would have cast 7 actors with dwarfism.
I would have, absolutely.
Yeah. So were you mad? Were you pissed? Do you see? Because we've gotten into this culture now where, only a gay person can play gay, and only, a lot of people think. And which flies in the face of what actually happened here, that an actor with dwarfism should be playing at least those roles, and hopefully many more beyond it.
Yeah.
So where do you fall on the whole thing? Is it okay to CGI at all, or would you say, on behalf of your community, absolutely no, not never?
Well, I think CGI has its place. Meaning, just for instance, let's say you need a lot of background actors. And again, okay, I'm kind of hypocritical when I say that, because again, why not just hire background actors? So I guess what I'm really trying to say is, yes, I really feel like those roles should have been available. I definitely would have, if given the opportunity, would have tried to audition for that. It's such a huge, Snow White is so huge. It's been around since 1937, and different people, remake the movie and tell their versions of it, and it's so pivotal in our society. It's amazing. It's an amazing story, but I just think they really kind of missed the boat on that. And again, if an actor that is small statured doesn't align with that, or maybe feels, oh yeah, the stereotypes are there and we were offended. Again, you don't have to put yourself in that. But there are as a little person actor, I can say, we have such limited roles as it is. It is so hard for someone like myself to break out in this industry. I've been in it since 2007, but again, it's very slow. And for that to be, I was excited when I heard that they were going to make that movie, and I'm like, oh, great. But I never received.
I got 1 in 7 chances right here. I got 7 shots at this.
Yeah. And I never received, the audition. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then to learn that, they're just going to do CGI. I'm like, no, this was made for us.
So if you were sitting in front of the Disney executives right now and they called you in and said, we want to have a listening party, will you tell us, your feelings? What would you tell them? Hey, cut the CGI altogether? Include us?
Yeah, well, I don't want to, again, I don't want to talk negatively about Disney. However, what I would just say is, what's already done is done. The movie's out. There's no way to go back and do that. However, if they were maybe perhaps going to do a sequel, I don't know if they would do a sequel for that. But if they were, I would say,
well, they'll eventually do it again. Because
yeah, exactly.
It's, right? This is one of those.
Sure. And so with that, I would say, hey, let's not go in this direction of CGI. You did it, and it's there, but let's open this up for real actors to be able to be a part of this story, and maybe other stories that you have in the future. I mean, there's going to be so many more movies coming out of Walt Disney, so I think they should definitely be open to having someone like myself be able to be cast in these movies.
What would you say to Peter Dinklage? I mean, do you feel like he threw maybe your fellow actors in the community under the bus?
Well, very respectfully, I would say to him, first of all, I would tell him how phenomenal he is.
Of course.
But I would say, listen, a lot of us are, we're not there. The opportunity is not there. And, maybe respectfully, don't speak for everyone, but let us decide if that's something we want to align ourselves with. And again, I get where the sentiments were coming from him, but he wants us to have, just like myself. I mean, I've been everything. I've been a bear. I've been a elf and a leprechaun, and I want to I want to do.
You want a damn
roles.
Romantic comedy?
Yeah, exactly. I'm ready for my rom-com.
Yes, girl. And I'm gonna tell you something you should be ready for.
What's that?
A Revlon commercial of some kind. Your skin is gorgeous. Your lips, your teeth, like you have this face is so stunning.
Aww.
Where's your wrinkles?
Well, thanks to my
girl
esthetician.
Doesn't tell her secrets.
Shout out to my esthetician. Hey, Wendy. But I try to get my 8 hours of sleep. I drink my water. Again, I'm in this industry, and I wanna keep going, and so I know I need to be camera ready. But I am open to any and every opportunity in TV and film.
Okay, my last question is really I just want to help enlighten me for a second. When you look at dwarfism and what your whole life will be this way, do you look at it as a blessing, as a curse, as just God's plan, and here we are? How do you?
Kind of all three of those things. I think initially in the beginning, when I was younger, definitely insecure. I looked at it as a curse. As I have gotten older and I've gotten a little opportunity in film and TV. It's small, but it's going. I'm starting to look at it as a blessing, and definitely, I think the end game will be, this is definitely God's plan. He has a plan for me.
Fantastic. Well, I hope your rom-com comes, and good luck with Death of Snow White.
Yes, thank you.
And it's wonderful to see you again.
Oh my God, it's so good. Full circle. I love it.
You're so adorable. Thank you. Very beautiful, beautiful woman.
Thank you.
Do you know the great Dennis Quaid?
I do.
Did you get to see him? Did you see him?
I have not seen him yet.
He's right through the glass, right there. Dennis Quaid is right through the glass.
I am such a fan. There's so many movies I have watched him in, and I'm very excited to be in his presence today.
Oh, well, I bet he feels the same. Ali Chapman, good luck with the movie. Death of Snow White is April 18th. And if they do it again, I hope you're in it.
Yes.
Snow White, that is.
Yes.
All right, Dennis Quaid coming up here. He's hanging out in the control room with our guys. We just got him a little something to eat. Lot to talk to him about. His new serial killer show. Oh my God, The Happy Face Killer. I watched both episodes. I'm all caught up. Woo! Our trip down memory lane. Lots to talk about with Dennis. That's coming up. But right now, listen, if you are watching on YouTube, we thank you there. And if you're listening on TuneIn, check out Don't Miss a Second of Action with TuneIn Premium and unlock access to college sports, every NHL game with blackouts and more. I went to the Rangers versus the Kings last night, and the Rangers got blacked out. Plus, enjoy more than 100,000 commercial-free music and news stations globally so you can stay connected. Go to tunein.com/premium. Sign up today. Unlock it all. Dennis Quaid coming up.
Welcome to LA Golf. You guys ready for the tour? We're the only golf company that manufactures its clubs here in the United States. All LA Golf drivers are built right here.
I'm very excited for today's production. It's going to be
4 left.
Anybody hungry? So does he work here?
Work here? He lives here.
Welcome back to Hot Mics with Billy Bush, brought to you by LA Golf. Dennis Quaid stars in the new Paramount Plus Happy Face, playing convicted serial killer Keith Jesperson.
Nope. Hey.
What?
Don't say his name, please.
Don't say his name. Oh, why?
Because I don't want to give him any publicity.
Well, the show
We
gives
call him
publicity.
the Happy Face Killer.
That's it.
Yeah. So that's what he is.
You had reservations about playing the Happy Face Killer.
Yeah, before we start out, I'd like to give a shout out to my anesthetician, Wendy. Hi. And, but
also,
anyway,
your
what a
anesthetician-
coincidence, right?
Your skin is so pure.
Thank
and
you so much. That's what I was
smooth
fishing
and
for there,
just
Billy.
like Allie's, who
Yeah.
was here a second ago.
But
Dude, I just watched the first 2 episodes in anticipation of your arrival, and it is you're haunting.
oh, thank you. Thank you very much, I
Good
think.
job,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I really was hesitant about taking this role on because I really don't have any compunction to play a serial killer, because, in acting, you've kind of tried to get inside people's heads. That's what drew me to acting to begin with. But that's not a good place to be. But this was about his daughter. And
Yeah.
that's the point of view of this, which sets it apart from other true crime stories that, and serial killer stories that have been out there. And that he had a very kind of loving, sweet relationship with his daughter when she was growing up. That's her memory.
Every
And
time he would commit a horrible murder and rape,
she got presents.
She got presents. She got candy.
He was a trucker, and he killed 8 women in 5 years along his route that he would take, driving a semi-truck. And she was 15 when he was caught. So how do you reconcile this sweet, loving father with this monster of a serial killer when you hear about what he's done. And she's been trying to right this wrong that cannot be righted in her head for going on almost 30 years now. And the way she chose to go about any kind of healing was to reach out to the victims of her father, their families. And then she started reaching out to families of other perpetrators, other serial killers, murderers, because she talks about this a lot. There's a lot of shame that goes with being the daughter or family member
she's kept it
of
hidden
perpetrator
for her whole life or
yeah,
career.
they live in a small town. Well, you live in a small town. How you gonna hide it? You can't hide stuff like that. And that's you have to think about, is that in our family? Is it genetic? Is that a part of me or whatever? And the way she chose to go about healing herself was very courageous to step out there. And that's why I said yes to this. This is because of her courage.
Wow. Well, it's unbelievable. I mean, Dennis, I just thinking about, you are always working. I mean,
yeah,
you have, I guess there's got to be a period that things dried up at some point and you were like, I mean, everybody's got to go through something. Did you have like a 5-year stretch where
there was a
nothing
weekend
happened?
there where things dried up back about 7 years ago.
Everybody hits the shits at some point.
Yeah.
You're talking to a man who's hit the shits.
It was a holiday weekend too, but I just love the work. I love, and it's new now because of the cameras, that we have that you shoot movies with. Used to be you could only maybe do one movie, maybe two in a year, because you'd be on the set for 5 months, and just to shoot a scene between you and me, when they shot your part and they turned the camera around, it would take 2-3 hours to light. Now it takes 15 minutes. So movies, you could do movies in 6 weeks now with great quality, and so that's one thing. And it's a golden age, man. It is.
You did The Substance. I mean, with Demi Moore.
Yeah,
that just happened. Just before that was Reagan. I mean, you know, firing through. So I assume you have a scheduler that
and
must
I had
be
about 4 other movies there too.
You have 4 in the hopper coming out.
Yeah, I've got Sovereign that's coming out, which is another true story of these sovereign people who think that U.S. law doesn't apply to them. They live out off the grid or whatever. They're not. They don't pay rent at places. They don't. If you're stopped by a police officer, you don't acknowledge that you even have to have a license to drive a car, and that the cop doesn't really have any authority over you. And there was a real guy like this and his son, and they were stopped by a cop who was on his first day on the job, and that kid wound up getting killed there at an off ramp. And I play the chief of police was that kid's father. It was a horrible story, and but it's a very incredible movie. I mean, it's an amazing story.
You got movies, the series. I mean, guess. See if you can guess. What was the Dennis Quaid movie when I was a young buck that that really got me?
That you weren't. I mean, you were before Parent Trap generation.
Yeah,
that's my main body of
Parent Trap.
Because you get them young. That's great. And I love that movie. But yours is probably Dreamscape. Dreamscape, Breaking Away.
Yes.
There it is.
Breaking Away.
Yeah.
You know what I said? I said, God, that guy's hair, your hair, and it's held up. Can you believe this?
I still got it. And
You're very lucky to have
mine.
hair. Would you rather have?
You've got fabulous hair yourself, Billy.
But listen. I mean, you're a little older than me, and I just hope that I could hang on.
Well,
but
everyone knows I don't color my hair.
would you have gotten plugs if you needed to?
Yes, but I don't know. I always kind of wanted to look like what's his name who used to play The Fugitive, David Jansen on TV. He had that widow's peak. I thought that was so cool.
I got the little grays coming in over here.
Yeah, it's very salt and pepper for you. It works.
So you grow up. You grew up in Houston, Texas. In high school you did some dance and some theater because you look like. When I think of you, I think also any given Sunday.
I didn't do dance.
No dance?
No.
I'm throwing that in there.
Maybe there was a
little ballet
dance class, but that wasn't or stage movement. I did boxing instead. That's what I did for stage movement.
Were you, caught between the athletes and the theater kids? You're a very good golfer.
I wasn't an athlete. I was a skinny kid. I weighed like 145 pounds in high school, and it's a rite of passage to go out for the football team in high school in Texas.
Oh yeah,
where I grew up.
Friday Night Lights, baby.
Yeah, and I was a good receiver. I had got a good pair of hands, but I was basically kind of like snickered off the field. I was just too small.
You just got hammered by people.
Yeah, and then I wound up in drama class.
What was your first production?
It was Spoon River Anthology. It was the first time I was on stage.
Spoon River, not Moon River.
Spoon River Anthology. That is a collection of characters from around the turn of the century, sort of Thornton Wilder-esque type of a thing. And I played an old man. The earth has a vibration in its heart, and that's you. That was my first line.
You remember the line?
I remember the line. I also remember the silence after the line.
Did it either suck or was it so powerful that people were like, "Oh my God, we're seeing the next"?
That's the thing with it, when you're first on stage, you've got such stage fright, and you really don't know how to feel an audience yet.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that, I think I've gotten to the point where I can feel an audience, but it takes a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
To feel it.
Your older brother was an actor too, Randy. Did he pave the way for? Did you see him in the productions and say,
yes,
"Hey,
he did.
I want to"?
Yeah, Randy. First off, like our cousin was third cousin is Gene Autry.
Wow.
The movie Cowboy.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I never met him until like 1994 when Wyatt Earp came out. But he was the family legend. And so. I had sort of like that showbiz thing and kind of going through the family there in Houston, but nothing really seemed possible. Our dad was a frustrated actor who turned us on to, old movies and actors and stuff like that. And Randy got into drama in high school with this acting teacher, Cecil Pickett, who wound up being at the University of Houston. And they came through auditioning for The Last Picture Show, and Randy got a part in that. Peter Bogdanovich directed it.
Wow.
Yeah, and then a year later, Peter Bogdanovich called Randy out to do a small part in What's Up, Doc? And then Randy wound up staying in L.A. And Randy was getting jobs, and it wasn't like a year and a half, 2 years later, he was nominated for an Academy Award for The Last Detail, like with Jack Nicholson. And so it was.
So he
definitely,
led the way.
I could see that it was possible.
If it's possible for Randy, you said, then it's got to be. Did you live with him when you came out to Hollywood? Did you sleep on his couch?
On his couch for the first couple of weeks, yeah. But I worked at the Steak and Ale and as a waiter to earn money, and I had a $1,200 when I went out there, and I got fired from my last job on purpose so I could get unemployment from Texas. That statute of limitations is run out on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, yeah, I came out there and it took me a year to get an agent, and I got a job 3 months later, and away I went.
God, your father, who was a frustrated actor, who, he must have been very proud. All of a sudden, he's got 2 boys, and they're both start really picking up and making tons of movies with big roles. I mean, both of you had great success.
I think he was concerned too, as at the same time, when Randy first got into it, at least in college and in high school, it was, Randy stated, I'm going to be an actor, and that's how I'm going to be, and I mean, he knew. And, Dad was kind of like, well, you ought to get like a real job out there because that's not going to work. And then when he made it, he was really very proud, surprised, and because I think that was the thing with him. He didn't see how that was possible,
Yeah.
But
believe me, kid, you're going to have your heart broken.
Really,
yeah.
Mr. Pickett, that acting teacher, who was also at the U of H, who I took classes from for 2.5 years, he taught acting as a craft. And because I didn't know about really being an actor, I was going to be a veterinarian and then, or a forest ranger. I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I took his class, and within a week, I was 18 years old, and I knew what I wanted to do with my life. And that's a real gift.
Jeez, that's lucky.
That few people get.
Yeah. Do you ever get to speak to Randy? Do we know what's going on with him?
He and I don't speak. He'd rather I don't speak about him, other than I'll speak about him with my history of him. I mean, I really admire Randy. I think he's like really one of the great actors of our time. Certainly one of the greatest comedic actors, that's for sure. Cousin Eddie on Christmas Vacation and
LBJ.
Yeah, LBJ. I can go down the line. And he certainly cracked me up growing up.
Yeah, funny.
Yeah.
Unbelievably.
We're very close, but we don't speak.
No. But you can feel him.
I love him from afar.
Got it.
Let's put it that way.
What about, was religion, you grow up in the South, it's football, it's faith. Were you guys a religious household?
Yeah, we went to Sunday school as kids, and I became disillusioned with religion. We were the Baptist church, and I think I was 11 or 12, and I came in with I'd forgotten my quarter for a donation in Sunday school, and I just got, up and down about how you didn't bring my quarter there, for that. And that kind of I felt shamed. And then I also kind of felt, money and church money. And, I was kind of disillusioned by it all. I was baptized, I think I was 10. I was in the 5th grade. And I started, then in high school, I started reading Siddhartha. I picked that book up, Hermann Hesse, which is really the story of Buddha, sort of told in a story of this guy who becomes a monk. And I was really turned on to Buddhism and to other religions, period, about what else is there out there, And then I went around the world, and that was my question on one of those round the world trips that you used to buy. Pan Am used to sell like $1,000 ticket, and you could go around the world, any country you want, including going north, south,
How old
as
were
long
you?
as you keep heading the same direction, east or west.
Oh, wow.
I was like 20, 23, 24, like that. And
So you'd had a little bit of success. You'd had some.
yeah, that's right. And
Breaking Away, I think, was 24.
yeah, I think it was with that money that I actually
Took your Breaking Away money
bought
and
that
left?
ticket.
Because most people feel the heat like, man, I got to get the next picture. I got to get the next thing. You took off and said, I'm going to take a break and go around the world.
That was back in the old days when breaks were taken. It was like, it was different back then. There was a very limited amount of work compared to what it is now. Very limited. But anyway, my question to everybody was these different countries is, who is God? Yeah. And so, I read, I wound up reading the Dhammapada, and I've read the Quran twice, and I've read the Bhagavad Gita, and I've read them all, and I've read the Bible now 4 times. But I used to say I was a Zen Baptist, but then in my 40s, I really came back to the red words of Jesus in the New Testament. And I finally got it about what it is to have a personal savior in your life.
And what was there? Was there a moment that
It's
hit?
a relationship. It's
Yeah,
a relationship.
Every kid, you can't. Your parents can force you to go to Sunday school and
Yeah,
all that, but you'll
exactly.
never connect until you yourself, right?
Yes, that's absolutely true.
Did you connect because you were down and reaching for help, or were you just curious?
Yes. In fact, that was after I got out of cocaine school.
The 80s were basically
That
cocaine
was,
decade for you.
Actually, 1990, and I got out of cocaine school, and you got into the program. You have a higher power and stuff, and so I started. I became a seeker again. I went to India. I think in the 90s. I went to India like 9 times, and I was just seeking something, but it was like I said. Reading the Bible, and I read it like cover to cover. And I've read it 4 times in my life. And I suggest it's just doing that if for anybody, actually, because every human thing action or thought that anyone has ever had in the whole history of being a human is in the Bible. Every situation there has ever happened is in the Bible. And so much that you don't understand some of it, or a lot of it, in fact. But if reading it over and over again and at different ages, it means different things. That's how it's how deep it is, and it really hit me. But getting back to it, it was really the red words of Jesus are what Jesus actually said, and that's what struck me and started this real relationship
in your 40s, which
yes,
so that's you've had it with you for some time. And
yeah,
the Baptist community, maybe I would guess, I'm not sure, but slightly unforgiving with mistakes in life. You said you
not
had
really. No, the Baptists aren't. No, that's the great thing about being a Baptist. You can go out and
sin, and you're
sin
good on
like
Sunday.
6 days a week and come in, and all is forgiven. Being baptized is actually, compared to the Baptist church, the Catholic church. Catholic church, you're christened, baptized at birth, basically. Baptist, you have to make that decision on your own.
I love it.
Yeah, but. Yeah, certainly there's a lot of disapproval that goes along with that, I'm sure. But, I've never been one for churchianity to begin with. It's having that personal relationship, which takes away the church, takes away everybody else, actually. It's about you and him.
You had you said you had the cocaine 80s, 90. I thought about it's like, thank God you got out of that, because then, tell me if I'm right, then the cocaine was unbelievable. It was like pure and beautiful.
Just everywhere.
And like everyone was into it all over.
Movie budgets.
It was in
Yeah, you go to a meeting.
It was in your rider.
You go to a meeting and
now
it would be on
you don't want
on
it
the
now.
table, there in the Black Tower. And
fentanyl was not a thing.
No, thank God fentanyl was not a thing.
How hard was it to give up cocaine? Because
that was hard, I got to say.
Hardest
Smoking is harder to give up than I think anything. I never tried heroin. Never did that. But cocaine was hard to give up because you get into a lifestyle and you get this and you put it on the table and that was my drug of choice. I wasn't going to leave until that was gone.
That's what they say about cocaine.
Yeah,
there's never any left.
Never enough. But what happened is that I used to scream at God at night to please take this away from me. But then I was in a band and the night that we got our record deal at the Palace Theater over on Vine Street, we broke up.
The
in
night
the
you got a
dressing
deal.
room, just like that movie, The Commitments. We broke up right at the moment that we got our record deal, and it was because of me. Is like they couldn't take me anymore, and I went home and
Because of the blow.
yeah, it could have been a couple of personalities, but but it was the blow, and so I went home and I had one of those white light experiences where I saw myself in 5 years I was going to be either dead, in jail, or I was going to lose everything that I had ever meant anything to me. And I went to see my doctor the next day, and I checked into a rehab.
This is about 1990?
Yeah, back then they didn't have these, like, you get massages and, delivered food and all that stuff. And this was in the basement of St. John's Hospital over there, CDC. And I was lucky I got it in 30 days. Wow. But then I spent a couple of years really kind of just really grinding my teeth to keep myself, no matter what, from doing it again because I wanted to.
But you drew the line on
and
that?
then it started to leave. And that was through prayer and meditation and going to meetings and just no matter what, having some sort of faith in it.
You were in relationship at this point with Meg. Was
Yes.
she helpful, Meg Ryan?
Yeah, Meg, incredibly. Meg didn't know.
You
I
hid
was
the
able
cocaine
to-
from Meg?
Yeah, drug addicts are really good at hiding stuff. And she didn't know. And she
was like Sally, and when Harry Met Sally, just kind of a little aloof,
there was
didn't
right
see
around
it.
the time she just done
And you
that.
were probably very sneaky. I bet you could hide the blood.
Yeah, I was pretty sneaky. But she didn't know. And she was great because she, before we got married, and she was a huge, huge help for me with that. And, it's now what, 35 years later?
Well, applause on that, thank God.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't, the 120, how many movies have you done? I don't know, 120 or something?
I stopped counting at 100
Wow.
somewhere along the line.
When I think of that 1988, I believe, when Harry Met Sally, you must have been so thrilled that her romantic co-star was Billy Crystal. And can't be jealous of Billy. Very talented man,
but you never know. Billy has his own charms,
women say it's a sense of humor first.
Come on.
That they really are attracted to.
That's how it happens, Billy. You turn your back, you go,
Sheldon, did
and
we?
what do you know? Next thing you know, remember that Woody Allen movie? Annie Hall, where she leaves him, he sees her a couple of years later, and the guy that she's with is even shorter than he is. You remember?
Yes. You never know.
You never know.
Never know what that little fella's hiding or what's going on. Well, she gave you the greatest gift. This your son Jack.
Yeah, Jack is just
holy shit. Is he a great actor? His movie Novocaine is terrific, and The Boys is an amazing series. And
it's
it's
like,
in the blood, baby.
He was number one. 2 weekends ago. I mean, how many actors were number one that weekend? Well, there was one, and that was him.
That was him.
Yeah.
Your dad was proud of you. You must be proud of him.
He
And
beat out Soderbergh's movies. He beat out, I think he beat Robert De Niro's movie out this last week. So the kid's doing great. I mean, he just loves
really
what
good.
he's doing. It was obvious that was what he was going to do. He went about it the right way, and he really trained like in high school and college, and he did it all on his own.
you did. I always think the right stuff. Like when I think the right stuff. Breaking Away with the hair and just the most handsome guy you've ever seen. Look at the right stuff.
I
Gordon
love that
Cooper.
movie.
Oh my God.
That was like,
that like Breaking Away, and then there's Breakthrough?
yeah. Even though the movie was not a success, by the way, it made $2 million its first weekend. It was back when it was just like a boyhood dream coming true. I was playing the astronaut that was my hero when I was a little kid, Houston, which was Space City.
Yeah.
And it so turned out he lived 3 miles from me here in L.A., and we got to be good friends, and he turned me on to Bud Wallen over here at Van Nuys Airport, just down the street, and I got my pilot's license. And
What is it with actors and flying? I mean, like Harrison Ford flies and Tom Cruise
there's only
flies.
about
and
there's only about 4 or 5 of us.
What's your
Well, within I was afraid to fly, but I was playing these astronauts, and it was really kind of more about the way they are on the radio.
Yeah.
They have that voice, and I was afraid to fly. I kind of felt like you were going to fall out of the air, and that was, but I wanted to try it, and then I wound up actually getting my instrument rating after that, and then going on to twin engines and flying jets and buying one, and really
you
very
fly
convenient. What? I still fly, but I sold my jet because I don't use it often enough. It gets very
Who's
expensive.
the best pilot? Would it be John
Who's the best
Travolta?
pilot you ever saw?
The best pilot of all the
You're
actors, the
looking at
big-time
him.
actors.
You're looking at him.
You're better than Cruise, better than Travolta.
That's the answer. See the right stuff.
You're looking at.
Who's the best pilot you ever saw? They're all very good. I spent about 4 days. I've never flown with John. I flew with Kurt, who's a really good pilot.
Kurt Russell.
But yeah.
Also great hair.
What's that?
Also great hair. Oh,
Harrison is excellent. Harrison's really good. Not only that, but
He
Harrison
landed on a
flies
golf course, though.
helicopters.
He landed on a golf course, Harrison Ford.
Yes, I know all about that.
Wow.
I've heard it from his
Surprise-
mouth and from those that witnessed it. And he almost made it back. And he was trying to save lives, do it at the same time, land on that golf course. And, it was in an old plane that I myself, I don't trust those things. But he's a great pilot. And flying helicopters, which is really like trying to balance a marble on a plate.
It's just like why I would never do it.
Yeah.
It's like I don't even like getting in them.
Yeah, I love to get on them, and I would like to learn to fly one. Actually, I've got about 5 hours in them, and I finally got it where I could keep it steady. But there's a whole lot that goes with it.
Oh my God. Well, you played this one of my favorite movies, Any Given Sunday, when you played the aging quarterback. It's directed by Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
Was he I'm always fascinated. He's a very intense individual. Did you blend well with him, or did you have
With Oliver?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
perfect.
Yeah, I gotta say, I thought that,
Thank God.
given Oliver's track record, or the stories that I'd heard before that, I thought, well, somebody is surely going to get hurt on this film because it was very, very violent. At least it appeared so. Nobody got hurt. That's because he set it up. He hired the right people, and we had pro players just really crawling all over each other to be in that movie, and we had the endorsement of the NFL to begin with, right up to like a week before we're going to start shooting, because we had football camp like a month before for the whole thing, and then they took it away. They took away their endorsement. Yeah, so we had to change the uniforms.
Why? Because of the violence, or
because it was so true.
Yeah.
That's really why they took it away. He really showed. He took you down on the field. He really showed what it was like to be in the NFL. Oliver, it's the closest I think it comes, and I've heard this from players, even just the experience of the impact and the visceral experience of playing, and also, the at home part and the rest of it.
I would think
the games that are played with careers.
in that an actor works for a director, is he the hardest to work for? That you have in you can think of?
He was so easy to work for.
So you were ready, you were prepared, you
He was very easy to work for, and it was also, I don't know why, but he was like, he didn't show up at the set until like 11, 12 o'clock. And I don't know, that's for him to talk about.
Wow.
But
that-
we got that, like James Woods and I learned that early on, and so we had tea times at at dawn, because that was our call supposedly, and we had tea times at dawn. So it would be Lawrence Taylor, Jim Brown,
Wow.
and Jimmy and myself, the greatest offensive player, the greatest defensive player ever to play the game. And that was something else.
And James Woods in the foursome. Who's
Yeah.
the best golfer? Listen, I've played golf with you. We play golf at the same place, and you are reported on the internet as a 1 handicap. I don't think you're a 1.
No, that was before twins.
You were okay. You were a 1
before I had twins.
All right.
I was actually a 0.6. I was a 0.6.
You were that good?
Yeah, I actually was that good.
Dennis Quaid has a pile of golf balls, and what do they say on them?
Dennis Quaid is here. In fact,
so if you find them in the bushes,
one of your producers found one of them the other day.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
So I also think of like you played pitcher Jim Morris in The Rookie. I mean, the sports movies, are they? God, they're the sexiest. Are they the most fun?
They are great to do. I love doing movies about sport. But the key to a great sports movie is for it not to be about the sport.
Yeah.
It's got to be about something else, something that everybody can relate with. Like The Rookie was about second chances in life. That's what it really was about, down at the end. And that's what it needs to be. Otherwise, just watch a documentary.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's such a great your career, fascinating to me. I think about what you did with Reagan. First of all, the look. I didn't realize how much you look like Ron Reagan.
I didn't feel like I looked like him.
Oh, I think you looked like him a lot.
Yeah, well, when they offered me the part, I did not say yes because I was terrified, to tell you
Not
the
that
truth.
picture. Not bad. They're putting up a picture right now, but that picture, I don't think. But in some of the scenes, they got the hair exactly right and the look and the voice.
I just wanted to make people forget. That's all.
Yeah.
They didn't have to be absolutely perfect. I just wanted to make people forget.
And the temptation might to go, doing too much.
Yeah, I didn't want to do an impression,
right?
Of him. That I revered him so much before that. It was like he was the second president I voted for, and I just revered him so much and what he did. Winning the Cold War and all that.
And providing hope, hope and a new dawn in America. And it's just a positive, message. Right?
Very positive. In fact, today's times remind me of those times back then, before the election, the Carter administration and even now, In fact, Reagan was elected. It took about a year and a half for his policies to take effect because, this year we're still living off the Biden budget. There's not a whole lot we can do now, but you can prepare the ground for next year.
Yeah.
But it takes time for those policies to kick in. And they were all over Reagan too, like within weeks, And they also thought, he's a warmonger. He's going to start a war with the Soviets. But that thinking, even the Soviets maybe thought, you might just start a war with us, And that kind of thinking, it was the thing that actually brought them to the table. And that was the thing that ended the Cold War.
End of the Cold War. Do you you speak about politics? You're not afraid to say you spoke. You at a Trump rally. You support Trump. And was there a time?
And I also say I've voted both ways. I'm an independent. I'm not a member of any party. I've voted
same.
Both ways.
Do you think there should be a bigger independent? I have to tell you, I don't understand the two-party system anymore. For myself, I'm registered independent, grew up a Bush, but I just find it to be a better way of doing business because I think the longer you've been in office, they hate each other so much. There's so much vitriol. It's more about power than people and maintaining power. And so you got these guys who've been in the office forever, and it's just they lose sight. I think, one, if you're going to have two parties, do it term limits. But I'd like to see a stronger independent party.
I would too. And I think that just might happen sooner than you think. The Democrats are they're fractured. And not just split, but I think they're actually really fractured. You have a lot of independent Democrats are leaning towards that are moderate. I think then you have your diehard old-time Democrats, that harken back to the civil rights movement and the 70s and social justice and all that. And then you have the radicals who have basically
led to this moment,
taken over the party.
Yeah, and they've led us to. But I will say this: the Democrats. One thing I find, if I'm going to compliment the party, is admitting the failures and admitting. I see a lot of people, Ro Khanna, some of these other congressmen coming forward, and some, J.B. Pritzker and others who are coming forward and saying, okay, we did screw up. We overpreached to people. They embracing the wokeism, and that they got a little nutty out there, and that, they need to get back to the center.
I haven't seen much of that yet. Maybe
No?
you've been listening more than I have.
Well,
But
it's hard
I really
not
haven't
to
seen that yet. As in general, I think there'll be some soul searching right now. I think there's a lot of posturing as it goes right now, because everybody's kind of trying to maneuver to who's going to be the leader of the party.
Sure.
So you hear a lot of
admitting some failure would be.
I've been hearing a lot of bullshit that's and doubling down and stuff that I don't think they realize that they're on the wrong side. They're on 80-20 still on the wrong side of a lot of issues that people had enough of.
Have you always spoken out? I mean, as an actor, sometimes actors get blowback if they get political. Are you at a point
I tried to walk
where you don't
the
give
line,
a shit?
For quite a while. I mean, I voted for Obama first time. In fact, I even introduced him here in L.A., I think, the first time he came here campaigning. And, I voted for Bush once. I voted for Obama once. Voted for Clinton once.
You played Clinton once?
Voted for your uncle once.
What? Senior? You played Clinton too. Not only have you played Reagan, you play. How was it more? What was a greater challenge, Reagan or Bubba?
Both, really. I mean, Reagan, because it was so it was over a lifetime and everything. But I spent a weekend in the White House with Bill Clinton. We'd gone there, Meg and I, with Jack, and they had to leave, and so it was just me and Bill in the White House on a slow news weekend, and Hillary was in Chicago.
No wives. You and Bubba. Tell me things got crazy.
He had his, his college T-shirt on, and he's such a he's like, what do you call those people that just cannot throw away or give away anything that they've ever gotten?
He's a hoarder.
He's a hoarder. Yeah, basically. Every gift he's ever had, he's got.
Well, he's an Arkansas kid. Grew up poor in Hope, Arkansas. So he's
Yeah, and he's the most. I mean, he's probably so charismatic. I mean, he could be in a crowd and there'd be 8 people around him, and he's got somebody's hand, and he's talking to another one, and everybody, all those 8 people, still feel that they're the center of his attention.
He's good.
He's good. He's
Look
really
you deep
good.
in the eyes.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was at the Super Bowl, and he was on the side. This is when he and George Sr. had both left office, but they were friends. They were, very friendly with each other. And they were on the sideline. They were going to do the coin toss or something, and I had my camera crew there because I was, hustling and working. And I ran over and I said, "All right, come on. There's never an opportunity that 3 legends like this could get together. Come on, let's get a photo." Bubba loved that. He went, man, I love it.
I just love that.
Love it.
Oh, that is so nice. In my book, buddy. But it's the Democratic Party will get it together. Whether they call themselves something else, which is a possibility, by the way. But I would love to see us return to a time when we weren't that far apart. Democrats and Republicans used to be pretty much the same.
I'm such a positive guy. I just see this deep state stuff.
I'm a positive guy too.
I just see it.
And I think things are going to be incredible.
I believe they're going to be beautiful. You know what's beautiful though? I'm going to tell you
But I think we have to know so that we can heal and move on.
Yes, I want healing.
That's what
I want
originally
Ron
wanted
Reagan
to
and
get
Tip
to.
O'Neill relationships.
Yes.
I want people to get together after the end of the day and get along. I'm sick
Yes.
of it. That's why I want the independent party.
Including Democrats and Republicans.
Exactly.
And independents.
But I have to say, on a personal note, first of all, thank you so much for coming in here. But when the wheels fell off my bus, if you will, I got the shit hit the fan in my life and career. I have a stack of letters that I received from certain people that I just interviewed along the way or had come into contact with. Cindy Crawford and the beautiful Julie Bowen and Suzanne Summers and all those kinds of people. But Dennis Quaid wrote me a beautiful note. Said
I
you're
texted you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really good guy. Just want to say thank you. Just when I was feeling terrible and I saw the name Dennis Quaid reaching out to me, I thought it made a big difference for me.
Well, I just felt you were being railroaded and you were like easy target when that wasn't the case. It was wrong.
Yeah.
You were just doing your job well.
But thanks to Dennis Quaid, I always say to people, if someone's going through something, you know them, you kind of know them, whatever, reach out to them. If you think, I shouldn't reach out, or I will, always reach out. Always do it.
Definitely.
The great DQ, my man. I'm watching Happy Face right now. It's on Paramount Plus, 2 episodes in so far. Another one coming out shortly.
You're going to love it. If you love true crime, if you love Dateline,
People
all
love
those true crime shows, you're going to love this.
I did Karen
With a
Reed.
chance for you to be a little bit of a detective yourself in it, too. So
That's right. You're very creepy in it and very good.
Thank you
Dennis,
so much, Billy.
I love you, brother. Thank you.
Bet. Love you, too.
The great DQ coming up. We're going to get into some quick hot mics, hot takes. We'll be right back.
Welcome to LA Golf. You guys ready for the tour? We're the only golf company that manufactures its clubs here in the United States. All LA golf drivers are built right here.
I'm very excited for today's production. It's going to be
4 left.
Anybody hungry? So does he work here?
Work here? He lives here.
We are live on TuneIn. We are live on YouTube. There's people saying hello to people in here. Actors, It's great. Rob Silverstein, our executive producer. My man, what's happening?
Bill, you brought up Signalgate a little earlier with Dennis.
Yeah.
And more of the correspondence were put out today because of the pushback by the White House on it. And let's listen first to Mike Waltz, what he had to say.
He is the National
Security Advisor. Steve, you can roll that.
Okay.
I take full responsibility. I built the group my job is to make sure everything's coordinated.
But how did the
execute
number? I don't mean to be pedantic here, but how did the number?
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name and then you have somebody else's number there?
I never make those mistakes.
Right? You got somebody else's number on someone else's contact. So of course I didn't see this loser in the group. It looked like someone else. Now whether.
All right, calling him a loser. Now,
he works for the guy that calls people losers.
I know. This is. Next up, let's roll Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth.
Can you share how your information about war plans against the Houthis in Yemen was shared with a journalist in The Atlantic? And were those details classified?
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again to include...
Bill, Jeffrey Goldberg's respected.
Jeffrey Goldberg is who they're speaking of, and he is the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, and he is the one that somehow got added into the Signal app. And look, first of all, Hegseth goes on to say, no locations, no targets, no nothing. I will say to that effect, I agree, unless Jeffrey had sent, hey, bombs are coming. I can't tell you where. I don't know in what location, but go underground. Not enough was really, MSNBC is screaming like crazy, like it's the worst thing in the world. I can't believe we gave up our strategic plans. They're not strategic, but I always thought that the Signal app, which is an end-to-end encryption app, was always for bookies and sidecars, for Congress people or something to hide the girlfriend or. But
this is right out of the Don's playbook. There's no question about it. Okay, deflect, criticize, rip the messenger,
tear down the guy.
Right, absolutely.
This is the art of the deal. This is Roy Cohn.
Exactly. As opposed to just saying, hey, we screwed up.
No, yeah, that's not. You're never going to hear, "Hey, I screwed up. I'm sorry."
And that's the issue with that. That's the issue I have.
Right.
All right. I truly.
Now, normally, but what's interesting here is something like this happens in the past. There's always been traditionally in politics a fall guy, and they let the fall guy go, and then it kind of blows over because they look like they've taken action. And in this case, it's interesting. Trump is standing by everyone, and no one's this Mike Waltz guy. In years past, administrations past, would probably have been fired in 2 seconds, but not happening.
Right. I just don't like. I don't like the name calling. We've discussed this before.
Yeah.
Baldoni's got a new look. Bill, have you seen it?
Yeah.
He's got the faux hawk with the shaved sides. He's got a white tank on. What are your thoughts?
I don't. I don't love it. I don't. Baldoni, I think, was very handsome. I like him with a nice short haircut, but don't shave the sides of your head.
Do you like the man bun on him when he does the man bun?
No, I don't love the man bun.
Okay.
I just like a nice short haircut. Baldoni's a very handsome guy with a handsome face. He does.
He is
that.
very handsome.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think of Harry Styles' new look? He's got that walrus mustache working for some reason.
Oh, here we go. So if you're watching on YouTube, yeah, see, there's the Baldoni look. Jesus, is he jacked up? Baldoni is big. You put Baldoni and Deadpool in a ring, I'll tell you who wins. Baldoni in a big look at the pipes on that guy. The haircut's awful. Harry Styles has a nice little mustache going and goatee. He's just handsome though, Harry Styles. He's that guy.
Oh yeah.
I think he's probably the better looking one.
Now, Bill, Gwyneth and Megan did a little video yesterday. Okay, Steve, why don't you play that? And then I want to get your reaction. I remember your reaction yesterday. Steve, play it.
I genuinely do not understand this at all whatsoever. Do you understand this?
Yeah, so the internet wants there to be beef between Gwyneth Paltrow and Meghan Markle. That would just be so great. And so the two, look, they're friends. You're forgetting the items from months ago, a year ago, where they live in Montecito together. They're neighbors. They go to the same parties. Ted Sarandos of Netflix and there's a enclave of the super special and super sexy up there, and they've been friends. There never was a feud between them. The internet just wanted one.
Right. Your reaction yesterday was, That's why I brought it back today. See if anything had changed with you at all.
No, no. I mean, I think, same thing with Meghan wants to be Martha. Does anyone bite? They put these little things out there, and if there's any traction, they go for them. And Gwyneth thought it would be fun to do that. And
Bill, I thought your interview with Dennis Quaid was terrific.
I love Dennis Quaid.
We could have gone another half hour with him. We didn't even get into most of the roles, and it's incredible. When I was doing some research on him yesterday, I just saw how many movies he's done.
Oh my!
He just keeps getting work.
No,
and he is political. I mean, he made some statements even here.
Meg Ryan, of course they got married, but Julia Roberts he worked with, something to talk about. Meryl Streep, Postcards from the Edge. He's worked with Costner and Swayze, and you know what? I didn't get a chance to ask him. Gene Hackman. Will Smith and Sharon Stone. It's
unbelievable.
He and Alec Baldwin. I bet he would. He and Alec Baldwin, Great Balls of Fire. I wonder if he's seen any of Baldwin's reality show, which is crazy.
There's no way he's seen. He doesn't even know about.
He must be so rich, Dennis Quaid, or he's burned it along.
But it's amazing how much work he's got. He must be incredibly talented, which we know he is. But
he knows his lines. He shows up on time.
He's
probably
incredibly professional,
reliable,
and easy to work with.
Right? Take that, Rachel Zegler. You're going to take a note there.
If you're easy to work with.
But he espouses more views than Rachel Zegler, which is interesting. I mean, he can say what he wants. Yeah.
All right, Bill. We're going to tease who? You got to tease Skinny Vinnie.
Skinny Vinnie coming up here. Our great man. Vinnie has lost. I got to tell you this. Vinnie's lost altogether, I think it's 23 pounds along the way. We're giving him $5,000 if he can drop 50 pounds in 6 months. He's already almost halfway there. That said, many people think I'm trying to sabotage him. 2 weekends ago, I took him to the Bahamas. We had a work event. He was eating, like he admitted to a late night order to his room. He admitted to that.
It was a huge order.
He ordered a lot of stuff because he had a $300 a day per diem and he couldn't stop himself. And last night I took him to the Rangers game versus the Kings.
Oh, the Rangers.
A hockey game, the beers, the bratwurst. All that, the hot dogs. What happened to Vinny? We'll weigh him in coming up.
You're sabotaging him, Bill.
In just a second. Oh, my God.
Welcome to LA Golf. You guys ready for the tour? We're the only golf company that manufactures its clubs here in the United States. All LA Golf drivers are built right here.
I'm very excited for today's production. It's going to be
4 left. Anybody hungry? So does he like work here?
Work here? He lives here.
So the new LA Golf driver is out, by the way. We had a big party on Monday night with Bryson DeChambeau, and Luke Bryan performed a little private concert, and the new driver, which matches your swing speed to your own club head. It's unbelievable. People are hitting them all over the place. I've sent them to a few people. Larry David got one of them. Okay? We're back with Vinnie, Skinny Vinnie, the Slim Reaper. 23 pounds you were down. I think after all the abuse you've taken, and you starved yourself at the hockey game last night. He didn't eat one hot dog. He didn't drink one beer. I kept trying to push him on him because I don't want to give you the 5,000, but I'm going to do it if you get there. Where is he now? He started at 267. Where are we now? Let's roll the tape and take a look at Vinnie. He's on the scale. This is very exciting. Oh, he's in socks. He's probably totally naked. 243.
Yeah.
244. 243?
243.8. So 244, you round it up.
So we're even.
Yeah, I mean, 24 pounds. I had a little water. I'm going to say I had some water earlier this morning, so yeah.
You're about at the halfway mark. And how long have we been going?
Almost 2 months.
Started 2 months.
January 29th.
So really, it's trending very well for you.
Yeah, Bahamas, I mean...
But people when things are going well in life, it's a psychological thing about human nature, Vinny. People tend to self-destruct. Stay strong.
Billy, Billy, so at the hockey game, are you getting into this with the food? Is Vinny clearly nervous about the weigh-in the next day, or is it not even...
He was worried about the weigh-in last night. He was talking about it, and I had a beautiful quesadilla, and I had a beer and a half, and Vinny did not have any, so...
For this reason, the weigh-in.
Nicely done. That's it for Hot Mics on this particular Wednesday. We're back Monday. If you haven't yet, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe at the bottom to our YouTube page. And if you're on TuneIn right now, we would deeply appreciate it if you went to youtube.com/@Hot Mics with Billy Bush and subscribe. See you Monday.